Hello, hello, hello everybody. This is Diane and I'm gonna just jump on and give you guys a bit of an update. I'm gonna just wait a second. I see there's people jumping on. Actually, just give me 1 minute. I'll be right back. Sorry, I had to jump out there for a second. Hello, hello, Mr. Allen. How are you? Anyways, I want to just tweak that. I'm using my phone because the camera on it actually is a little bit better. So I'm just going to give it a second and I'm going to just give you guys a bit of an update. I am on day 21. It's day 21 for me since I went on CBD oils. Not just that I went on CBD oils, but since I went on the ones from Change the Future Outcome. So that's the experience I can speak to, is these particular oils. I know if some of you guys have been watching a little bit, you'll know that I've been on the journey of trying different things, and I've been on trying to get healthy for quite some time and wasn't really getting there. Trying a lot of different things, from both, you know, through working with doctors, naturopaths, healers, energy workers, you know, kind of a little bit of everything. Hey Janie, how are you? Thanks for checking out the video. So yeah, I'm gonna just update a little bit. I went on the CBD oils, this brand, on it'll be it was a Monday, so 1, 2, 3, I think it was the 26th of February was probably the first day, and then I got the rest of my order 2 days later, and that's when I was able to try a multitude of the products. And just as a little, you know, catch you up here, I did go on, try different CBD oils from dispensaries for over a year. I tried both THC and CBD. I tried combinations of low THC, high CBD, both using both the plant or using it through capsules, using drops, and I wasn't getting results, and it was getting frustrating. I tried edibles, I tried gummy bears, I tried all sorts of stuff, and what it felt like more than anything was it was just a lot of money leaving my bank account, and that wasn't making me feel better, and I wouldn't care about the money leaving my bank account if I was feeling better. It's not the money, it's that when you consistently are trying things and you're just not getting a response that you want. So ultimately I just wasn't feeling any better. And I do feel like there's some money grabs that are going on in the medical dispensary industry, and I do feel like a lot of them are in the edibles. And the one thing that because they're not manufactured in a facility, a lot of the ones coming into the CBD oils and the stuff that you get from medical dispensaries is really, a lot of it is coming from mom and pop places that are making cookies, making edibles, making the oils, and so you never fully know what exactly you're putting in your body, and then you can't, you know, it's no surprise that if you're not getting a consistent result, if you're not getting a consistent percentage, for example, percentage of CBD oil or percentage of whatever the plant is that you're taking. So one of the reasons I was excited was when I found this manufacturer, Change the Future Outcome, and I put a link, I think, in the thing there for you guys to look at them. When I found this company, they're manufactured in the United States in a good manufacturing facility, which gives them the stamp to say they're independently tested. So when they tell you, for example, that there's 750 milligrams of CBD oil in this body, that they have to be able to test any bottle that comes out of that manufacturing facility, and has to meet a minimum of 750 milligrams in that bottle. So that's something that you don't necessarily get from the dispensaries, because they're not bound by the same rules. So when I look at, well, what's different in the last 20 days than the many other times that I was trying different things. Hi, Rob. Hi, Leona. Hey, sweetie. Nice to see you. When I was thinking, okay, well, I've been trying all of these things and I wasn't getting a result, I really think part of it is the consistency wasn't there. Because you don't know if they're not going through a full manufacturing process where they're measuring and they're having to meet a standard. The reason that these CBD oils are available to the general public without having to go to a doctor, without having to get a prescription and all of that, is because they have to have under 0.03% THC in them in order to qualify without ending up in the class of a class 1 drug. So if you go to a dispensary, you could very well I'm going to answer that question in 1 sec, Alan. It's a great question. Thanks for asking it. So if you go to the dispensary and it's not under good manufacturing facilities, you may have this much THC in this, this time, and then the next batch has this much, and then the next batch has this much. And that's why I went from trying things where I took a capsule, literally a capsule, that had a teeny weeny little drop of oil in it that you actually couldn't even see, hardly. You had to look to see it, and that thing had me whacked out for, it was well over 12 hours. A friend of mine said at the time, I said that I felt that drug in my system for about 18 hours, and it wasn't a good experience. My heart raced, and so all of that. So that's why I feel you have to also be careful. So Alan's asked is, how do you ingest the oils, or can you just rub it where the pain is? So it's a great question. These oils, and the reason that you would look at something like to go to sublingual versus something, especially that's in the edibles, because the edible has to be eaten. It has to go through your digestive system, so it goes through your digestion, your bowels. It takes all this time to react. When you go sublingual, and these are oils, a full serving of this, which I don't take a full serving, which would be about 20 drops. 20 drops would be about that much. That would be a full serving. And you could take 20 of these twice a day, and that's considered a full serving per day. But what you do is you just drop a little bit right underneath your tongue and let it sit there for about 20 seconds. And then that oil goes directly into your bloodstream. And so it's missing and it's bypassing the bowels and all of that stuff, so it goes straight into the blood. When you have pain, you have inflammation. That's basically what pain is for the most part. It's inflammation. You have inflammation in your joints and all of that. So this actually immediately just calms the inflammation in the body, which is also why it's having such a huge effect on brain function and Alzheimer's and psychosis and everything. Like, it's just unbelievable. I've really been just inundating myself with learning and messages. I'm trying to create some places for you guys to get that under, so you don't have to go looking all over the place like I did. And I have a YouTube channel, and I can put that up, and I'm making playlists in the YouTube channel, so you can go to the playlist and say, CBD oil and depression, CBD oil and diabetes. So you're getting specific information about what challenge that you may be facing. But what they also do have is, and these are very popular, I tried stuff from the dispensaries. This is something I tried from the dispensary. It was $45 for this. It looks like, it's like a underarm thing or whatever. It's like a waxy thing, and I've got very, very little relief out of this. And I do know that somebody made this, was in the local area, I believe in Regina, is who's making this. And so again, it's not fully going through the proper manufacturing process. So these rubs though, and this deep healing rub has emu oil in it, and it's really fabulous for any joint and muscle pain. People with arthritis in their hands, I put it on my knees because that's where I really notice it. And I notice after I've used it, I'll be like walking up and down the stairs and things like that, and I'll be like, wow, my knees just got me up and down the stairs, and I'm not either limping or almost literally having to use the bar to get myself up and down the stairs. And that's disappointing when you're, pretty, for the most part, a vibrant person trying to live a good life and all of that, and that you just ache everywhere. So with something like this, so you rub it right on wherever the pain is. I have a lot of shoulder pain, because I had damage to my right shoulder a few years ago now. And so I just take a little bit of it on, and I put it on, especially at night when I go to sleep. That's when it seems to be the worst. And I just take like a little bit of it, and I just rub it on my shoulder, right in that area, and down my arm a little bit. And even just reaching over to do this was difficult. And then, you know, I'll feel that whole area just calm down, usually within 5-10 minutes, 20 minutes. Sometimes I don't even notice, except notice I'll go later, I'll go, oh, my shoulder calmed down. It doesn't really hurt so much. It's a little bit difficult if you have any pain in your arms in terms of sleeping, because you can't not sleep. You can't, I don't know, I can't roll over in my sleep, and I had back surgery, so I sleep, you know, I have to sleep on my side a lot with pillows and stuff like that, so it's helping a lot. What I can tell you is I had the first 2 weeks were really, like, I just was so consistently, day by day by day by day, noticing, wow, this is feeling better. You know, and the one thing that's really, where it's really kicking in is in my emotional body. I find that my level of, you know, kind of that roller coaster of feeling good, feeling bad, feeling up, feeling down, a tremendous value for people that are struggling with addictions. CBD is literally changing lives and giving their lives back. And again, it's because it curbs that craving attitude. And I mean addictions with anything. People quitting smoking, you know, anything where you have an addiction, meaning you're overactive about something. It could be sugar that triggers it. It could be gambling that triggers it. It could be drugs that are triggering it. One thing that I can tell you is that they are finding that it's helping so many people get off opioids. And we have an opioid epidemic. We have it in Canada. Some people think that shit just happens other places, and it's just not true. And it would be very beneficial for us all to think that things aren't happening in our own doorstep. I live in a fairly small town, and we have a drug problem in this town. We have a youth drug problem in this town. And when you have a youth drug problem, it just makes me so damn sad, because, you know, they're really struggling because the level of drugs that they're getting at and they're taking, and they're getting fentanyl, and they're getting things that are like, what do they say fentanyl is? 50 to 100 times, you know, more powerful than anything else, and that kids are getting on it and they're dying. I mean, there's communities that have had like a rash of deaths in one weekend because somebody got a bad batch of something. And some of that is the addiction, you know, going after the drug or the high. And then a lot of it is people that end up on pain meds through being in pain, through being in car accidents, through PTSD, through all sorts of stuff. So it's beneficial to try to find something that you can get off pharmaceuticals at least minimize the amount of pharmaceuticals that you're taking. I've been pretty transparent in all of this since I started, and I have only had sleeping pills one night, and I had them last week one night because I had been company all weekend the weekend before. I went to Regina. I, you know, slept at a friend's house on the futon, and I didn't sleep very well, and I came home and I was exhausted, but I had been going and going and going. And what happened for me was, I think because I was feeling better, I immediately start thinking I can just go out and take on the world, and it's not going to happen that fast. You know, I'm not saying this is a miracle. I'm not suggesting there's a miracle here, but I've learned enough, especially over the last month and a half. If you consistently add CBD into your body, it's amazing, and it's really preventative. Some people really, it's beneficial to take even if you're not, if you want to prevent anything. It's fabulous for cancer, it's fabulous for diabetes, for MS, for Alzheimer's, for skin conditions, for eczema, for seizures, for depression, for pain. And so I'm becoming a very big advocate, and I can only speak to what I've noticed is by taking this particular product is when I've been getting the most consistent change. So 20 days in, I'm especially feeling the one thing that's really coming back around is my mind, because I was just getting so sad from feeling shitty all the time. You know, it was difficult. I wasn't going out socially. I don't hardly leave my house, to be honest. I'm more of a, let's get out and I get my necessities. I run to a couple places and I come home. I haven't been going out. I haven't been going dancing. I am not stopping in and seeing friends. And part of it was I'm not feeling well. And I'm one of those people that I get inverted when I'm not feeling well, and I live alone, so I don't even have really any, you know, stimulation in my home. I get very inverted, and I started to see this is becoming a problem, Diane, because, you know, you're young, you have a lot of life left in you, and you should, you just want to feel better. So, what I can tell you, though, is this emotional body. I was saying to somebody earlier that, you know, when you get to the point where you're taking the drops, I do believe it works. My question again. Oh gosh, yes, sorry, that I didn't understand that was the question. Yes, when you take CBD oils that fall under the supplement, so you're getting less than 0.03% THC, there's no psychoactive effect from CBD oil. There's no high. You'd have to take literally this whole bottle, you wouldn't get high on it. They say you'd have to ingest so much of it for the THC to even start to be in your body. This is trace THC. That does not apply if you get THC from a medical dispensary. So if you're taking it from a medical dispensary, that can be the case. You actually may have to watch, but you'll know, because you'll feel high. You'll feel the THC, and THC is what gets us high. So when you take straight CBD oils, there is no psychoactive effect, and that's why it's finally coming out of the class 1 drug, because there's no drug effect to it. You're not getting high. It actually curbs addictions versus causes addictions. So yes, you absolutely can operate everything. And it's trace THC, so you'd have to have mounds and mounds and mounds of it for it to even show up in a drug test. But make sure you understand I'm saying it based on getting it through a nutritional company that's meeting the standard of less than 0.03% THC. You can get oils from a dispensary that have 20% THC in them. We have to be under 0.03%. So that THC, that oil, you may very well have an issue and not be able to drive, and you'd know because you were high. Like I said, I took that oil in that little capsule that time, and I was high for, almost a day. I mean, it just never went on, and I got my heart raced, and in all honesty, it was a bad experience, and I was really... I just recommend that, you be careful when somebody's, out of kindness is dropping something off to you to try to help you. But at the end of the day, I really felt concerned that if I had a heart problem, if somebody had a heart problem and that THC got their heart racing like that could have been a concern for somebody. So the answer is no, you don't get high on CBD oils. And so if you're looking for that, then you would have to add THC, and you won't get it through this product. You can get it through a medical dispensary. You can get CBD oils now in health food stores. And again, you would look at the quality of them. Are they organic? Are they non-GMO? Where are they manufactured? And a big factor is how it's manufactured, how it's processed. CO2 processing of CBD oil leaves the phytonutrients in the CBD oil. If you heat extract the oils, you lose a large percentage of the efficacy, and they also can use solvents, so that you end up with that in the oil. And so I wasn't interested in that, and I think that's probably quite a bit what I was getting from, hi ladies, I was getting from the dispensaries, and why there was no consistency to it. So, but some people can say, well, I like the THC. Well, then you're not getting it from this product. You'd have to order it through a dispensary or through wherever you already get your THC from, whoever you maybe get your marijuana from. The big thing and the beautiful thing, especially if you use the thing like this, pain for arthritis and stuff like that, it's allowing, especially people that are having trouble with using their hands and their knees and stuff like that, where everything hurts, and you just rub that in, and that CBD oil goes in right away. And I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses with me, but to say what's in this specifically one, but what happens is it takes the inflammation down right away, and the inflammation is what's painful. And inflammation in your blood causes everything to be inflamed. So when I had my parathyroid issue, when they found out for 10 years I wasn't getting calcium to my bones, my blood was inflamed. My inflammation markers when I was getting my blood tested were always ridiculously high. They were always saying, well, I was taking injections and stuff like that, going to the hospital and getting a 3-hour drip, all sorts of stuff to try to get the inflammation down. Well, in time, it affects your organs. And, you know, at the end of the day, they said because that lump that they took off my parathyroid was so large, that surgeon said, I can't believe you've never had kidney stones, because that's what should be happening when you have this high of inflammation and you've had the calcium not going into your bones for so long. And so, God, you know, I just thank God to feel blessed that I didn't get kidney stones. But what I've noticed is, like I said, I've only taken sleeping pills once in the last 21 days. I do feel like that if you're coming off of medication, you want to, you know, take yourself off of it slowly, and you want to have your doctor included. I was on sleeping pills. I don't go to my doctor and ask him. I'm on a very, very low dose amitriptyline, so I didn't go looking for my doctor to approve me coming off of them, because I've done enough over the years, you know, melatonin and things like that. And we do have a CBD spray that has the CBD plus melatonin in it. And you just put a couple sprays under your tongue. So last night I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt quite wide awake. And I was, you know, my arms were hurting a little bit and stuff. And I thought, I don't want to wake up at 2:30 in the morning. So I took a couple drops of the oil. I sprayed in the sleep spray, a little bit of the pain relief spray, and I went back and I slept till 7 o'clock this morning. So again, it's helping me, it's working for me. And, you know, probably the biggest consistent thing that I can say without question is my mental body feels like it's returning. I feel better mentally, and when I feel better mentally, you just have more, you know, oomph to take on the rest of things that are in your life, and the pain and the lack of sleep that you may be struggling with and stuff like that. So because it's very, very difficult to you know, come up out of a ditch when you're not sleeping. You know, there's a you know, a snowball effect when you stop sleeping and you're not sleeping properly. And then when I had my cancer and I went through radiation the second time, and I chose to do the radiation, I never slept for almost 3-4 months after that. And it got mental. I got mental. And it was very, very debilitating, you know, to even just, I was sleeping, you know, 90 minutes at a time maybe. I was crying all of the time. I was too tired. I mean, I think I told you guys one day I couldn't even stuff a pillow in a pillowcase because I was so weak. And so I went to a sleep study, and I went to a sleep study in Calgary, and we went once a week for 8 weeks, and we learned all sorts of stuff about sleep, and they gave us techniques to try to sleep. But I remember when they said that the sleeping pills actually aren't putting you to sleep, and we were all like, well, what do you mean they're not putting us to sleep? What are they doing? And they said they're just preventing wakefulness. I'll never forget that, like preventing wakefulness. And they're like, yeah, you're not actually sleeping. They're preventing you from being awake. So the difference is, and why that matters, is because I still wasn't going, you don't go your REMs. You don't go into your proper REM sleeps. And for a person to not get their proper REMs, because there's different, we go into REMs, you know, the theta, alpha, whatever, I can't think of them right now, but you should go into those cycles about, I think it's twice a night, where you go through each cycle and come back out and you go in again. And with a sleeping pill, you're actually sleeping, so to speak, but really you're not sleeping your REM cycles, which is why people still will often feel not rested after sleeping with a sleeping pill, and that was a side effect. And so I take a low dose of amitriptyline, and really more than anything, all that did was, if my pain was really bad, it helped me get back to sleep if I take the amitriptyline. And so sugar diabetes, you know, I would recommend that you watch the videos, Alan, and I'll put them up, or I'll put the link to them. It does something to diabetes. I don't have diabetes, but started seeing so many videos where they were talking about it does something that regulates the sugars in the body, and it's helping diabetics get off their medications, and it's also helping them heal things like where they're having trouble with their feet and all of that stuff. And you know, literally there's story after story if you go looking on places like YouTube and stuff like that, and just Google that, CBD oils and diabetes, CBD oils and depression, CBD oils and migraines. I'm making playlists for you guys specifically, but I'm also doing it at a pace where I'm just trying to get a little bit in every day, because I'm still struggling to feel well, completely well. I'm not, you know, suggesting to anybody my life just, you know, went fabulous, fantastic in 3 weeks and I don't have any pain anymore. It's not true, but I can tell you it's minimized, and it's consistently minimizing. And the other place where I was noticing it quite regularly was with my legs and my knees. And you know, it's hard when you go to get out of a chair and you go to get out of your car, and you have to use props and things to help you get up, and you know, you're like, God, my brain is still away, and you know, in some ways in its energetic youth, and yet my body is way beyond my years, you know. And I think if I feel like this now, what am I going to feel like when I'm 70, 75, 80 years old, when I'm already fed up, you know, and I'm trying to avoid that. So, but I'll get you a link for that, Alan. It's very, very good for diabetes. And, you know, the other thing is I want people to understand is you need to try things for yourself. I'm sharing my story with you. There's no one size fits all. There's no CBD oils is the end all answer to every single malady that's out there. It's having a massive effect on pretty much all physiological parts of the body, and it's because of the cannabidiol and the endocannabinoid system, which they discovered that we have in 1992, I believe it was. And there were some pioneers that, even though they suppressed the cannabis plant, there was pioneers that kept going with the studies. And so, you know, hats off to those guys for not giving up and not letting the, you know, getting hemp back where it belonged, proper, you know, industrial hemp back where it belongs, and which isn't in the illegal marijuana industry, especially when there's no high. Like, it's not even logical. I do know, for example, Facebook is doing things where they're saying you can't talk about CBD on Facebook because it's part of illegal drugs. Well, you know what? Facebook, do your damn homework. It's actually not. And so there's people that are getting their accounts shut down. So I'm actually looking at an optional venue to speak on, because I'm not willing to have them roll my story because they want to stay in the dark and not be part of understanding. You know, go do your own research is what I tell everybody. But so if you're going to ingest something in your body, you want to look into what it is, what effects it has on you. I got asked, you know, what are the side effects of CBD? Well, so far for me, I feel better. I feel better. I'm sleeping better. I'm having my pain minimized, someday really, really minimized. I'm in great days, average days, and then I've had some tired days, but I've also noticed on the tired days, I had really busy days before where, like I said, I had company. The other thing that many of us know, if we have arthritis and stuff, we know that the weather is a determinant in how we feel often. And when we had the big snowfall and all of that, and we get the snow and the dampness, I know that I get more achy. So I did want to tell you guys one thing though, because when you take a full dose of this, you can take up to 40 drops a day. I'm not taking 40 drops a day, but I did start to try to go to full doses. So I was taking about 15 drops, and then I was only doing it twice a day last week because I wanted to see, because I started out microdosing about 6 drops every 5 or 6 hours. Did I lose the video? Am I still on live, you guys? I don't have the chat up either, so sorry. Anyways, I hope it's still live. If someone can say something. My phone just rang. So what I noticed was I was like, okay, I think I'm actually in more, my pain isn't feeling as balanced and as, you know, kind of limit. It's not minimized as much when I have bigger doses than when I was microdosing. So just 2 days ago, thank you. So just 2 days ago, I started going back to the microdosing. So rather than doing the, you know, 20 drops in the morning and then 20 drops in the night, which I still haven't, I don't think I've had, maybe one day, I've never even had 40 drops yet. So if you take 5 drops every 4 hours or 5 hours, 6 hours, and you take that 4 times a day approximately, I'm taking about a half a serving every day. And then, like I said, when I go to sleep at night, I do use the extra spray under my tongue for the sleep and for the pain relief. And I don't have those downstairs with me. So, but if you want to give them a try, really, it's like I tell people, I base the choices I make on what goes in my body based on my research, what I'm feeling like, the confidence I have in the company that I'm buying from, what they're going to charge me to try it, and all of that stuff. But a lot of people will say, well, I'll wait and see how you feel. Well, I'm going to feel how I'm going to feel based on the shape that I started out in. Some people are reaching out that are just struggling with depression. And so they're not going to need if they don't have body pain, they don't need rubs. If they're not having anxiety, for example, they wouldn't necessarily need the extra spray. So just try, and I'll help people. I've got people phoning me and they want me to help them figure out what to order. I'm absolutely on board for all of that. I have my own little CBD store now through Change the Future Outcome. And if you go through there, I get credit for your order. The company says thank you for bringing that customer to me. And they pay what's called a 20% commission volume, which is really about 10% of the actual order. So, and the other thing that I really liked about that, though, is it's going to help people pay for their oils. And I had a conversation with somebody today, and we talked about the fact that their benefits will pay for them to go on the medication, the antidepressants, for example, and they're not going to pay for the oils. And so, no, you do have to come out of your pocket. And some people have health spending accounts. Your health spending account might cover some of it. I was very frustrated when I went through my cancer because I chose naturopathic methods and I didn't get any of it paid for. Yet they would have plugged me full. They would have paid for everything. They would have paid for morphine. They would have paid for Percocet. They'd have paid for depression, antidepressants. They would have paid for everything. And I said, I want to go on nutritionals and acupuncture, for example. And they're like, sorry, that has to come out of your pocket. My visits to my naturopath were $150 a visit. They didn't pay for that. Sometimes a spending account might give you $500, which doesn't necessarily go that far. So, you just think about it for yourself. Like I don't base my decision to try something because I'm waiting to see what happens to someone else, because they're not in the shape I'm in. I mean, I came from being, told I had no calcium going to my bones for 10 years minimum. I have had back surgery, thyroid surgery, 2 breast cancer surgeries in the last 10, 11 years. So my immune system was affected. I only did the radiation out of all of that. I chose natural stuff, every other thing, but you still go through anesthetics. You still go through recovery and repair. I mean, my back surgery took me, quite a while to get through. And that's the one place that I'd say that the oils haven't really affected yet, is right where that nerve damage is, where they cut in and put the pins and rods. But I've been studying enough the oils that they say when you stay on the oils over time, it actually helps that nerve damage, because I have that nerve damage. And so, just be cognizant of saying, where am I at? But if you're on, say, you're just struggling with depression, then you're not going to need the rubs. You're not going to necessarily go for the 1,500 milligram bottles of oils. You can do the 300 to 500 milligrams. So your cost is going to be much less. So, I tell people, just be responsible in that way. Look at your own life and look at how you're spending your money. And if you're only spending it on pharmaceuticals and they're not really getting you where you want to go, because they're mostly band-aids that are masking things. They're not preventative. They're not repairing your body. They're not giving you phytonutrients. They're not minimizing inflammation in a natural way and stuff like that, which is why I get really tired of pharmaceuticals. And I'm telling you, I put something up. It's going to go on my page this afternoon, and it's disgusting because it's an article in the United States. It's in the United States, but we have a similar problem here. And it says 5 New York doctors are charged after allegedly taking kickbacks for opioid prescriptions. Like, that makes me want to strangle every one of those doctors. you're coming to them in a place of faith and trust to help you through something. We don't go to doctors when we feel well. We go to doctors when we're not well. That's the other thing. There's no preventative medicine in the medical pharmaceutical industry unless you balance it out with some form of naturopathic stuff or balanced nutrition and nutritionals and, you know, organic foods, whatever it is that you do to try to help you feel better. And, you know, it's disgusting to me, but I learned that when I went through the you know, there's $180 billion a year, for example, in 2007, and the statistic was a little bit old then, was there's $180 billion a year spent on chemotherapy, and doctors are getting kickbacks for it because they get actually commissions. Like, if that's not a conflict of interest to any government in the world, I don't know what is, and that just makes me want to get very passionate about a lot of shit, but that is a conflict of interest. That person, they were finding doctors that were picking drugs that they would get a higher commission on and recommending them versus the actual right prescription. So you're not even getting the right prescription because there's a profit center for that doctor to say, oh, here's this stuff's on sale, or we're going to be getting out of this product and changing it, so push this one and we'll give you higher commissions. And so some of their salaries, what they earn in a year, is based on the actual drugs that they give out. And that to me is BS, conflict of interest, period, end of story. I don't care, period. And the governments are the ones that need to stop that, and the people need to they'll stop that. I know I shared with you guys before, they did a private study, and over 80% of oncologists wouldn't actually do the recommendation oncology. They wouldn't do the chemo radiation that they were actually recommending. Oncologists that get cancer go to naturopaths. You know, just use your brain and do the math and all of that stuff. So I can tell you that I got really excited when I started feeling better, and I did realize though that it took a long road. Like, it's been a long road for me to get feeling this much pain, which then leads to insomnia, which then leads to depression, which then which is the inflammation. You know, I learned that when I did the research for my hyperparathyroid, that over 80% of people that have hyperparathyroid are misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia. So then they're not even treating it properly, which is why they ended up not even looking at my thyroid. It was just finally one day, oh, we should look at your thyroid. And that surgeon, I've told you guys that story, she phoned me at home on a Sunday. She said, your lump was so large, it took so long to get that big. I'm so sorry you were misdiagnosed for that long. And she didn't know how I was going to feel after, because I was out of 1,500 surgeries or something that she said there had been maybe a half a dozen that were that large. And she said it just should never have happened. She said, I can't do anything about that, and I'm sorry that you got misdiagnosed, and that wasn't anything to do with her or her treatment. But she did say, I can't even tell you how you're going to feel because that lump was so large, and it should never have been missed for that long, when we had been doing blood tests for 10 years that said my calcium is ridiculously high in my body, my inflammation is ridiculously high in my body. But what happens is the government pays for a certain test for the thyroid, and if you fall within that little marker, then they say, oh, well, then you don't have a problem because the marker says that you do. They don't go looking further. They actually had to send me for an ultrasound. The ultrasound is what found the lump. Then I waited an entire year to actually even have that removed. That's the Canadian healthcare system. So when people say our healthcare is free, it might not cost you something out of your bank account, but it could very well cost you something much bigger, and people are dying waiting for things. So that can cost someone their life. So probably, as you guys know, I get pretty passionate about some of this stuff. So I recognize that it took a long time for me to be in this big of an unwellness hole. I've been through a lot. I'm a trooper. I'm gonna always keep trying to go, you know, but it gets tiring, very tiring. And I'd like to give people a reason to continue to have hope. So, do the research, look into the stuff yourself, and pay attention. Go look it up. What is happening? If you want to try CTFO CBD oils, grab a free account. You have to have an account through someone. You don't just go direct to the company. The company says you have to have an ID number, and so I have an ID number. So you'd have to come and say, for example, go to my ID number to open a free account. And that's because they give back. They say, thank you for bringing us that customer. You're not going to find this in mainstream stores. It's not competing on shelves with the market. They're not paying, all their money's not going to labeling and competition. It goes to science and research, which is why I'm also a big proponent of direct-to-consumer marketing. Regardless of what it is, direct-to-consumer marketing, for the most part, brings all of us way higher quality products. So I feel like I've kind of said probably anything I can say today. Thanks for the questions, Alan. And if you guys have questions, ask them. Right now, I'm not really brain functionally, able to say exactly if I can direct you to the information about the diabetes, the information about the depression, and about the migraines and stuff like that. But I'm not really in a place, and I'm not a doctor. I don't want to have anyone think I'm their doctor, or that I'm treating this situation like I'm a medical professional, because I'm not. I just do a lot of my own research, and I have had quite a long journey in terms of trying things. So I've tried a lot of stuff, and I've paid a lot of money, and I've been at this a long time. And because I've chosen to try a lot of non-traditional things and stayed away from pharmaceuticals overall, I have quite an experience with trying a lot of different things. And if your immune system is low, we're a breeding ground for things. If the inflammation in your body is high, I guarantee you, if you're in pain, you have inflammation. If your joints hurt, if your elbows hurt, if your hands hurt, if your knees hurt, there's muscle and joint problems there. And because we're eating so much food that, for example, is full of crap, that's got chemicals in the ground now. There's no even real good ground anymore that's not being disturbed with chemicals and stuff like that. That ultimately has an effect on what we're putting in our body. So our body's not just taking in food, it's taking in chemicals. And if we don't do anything to expel that chemical through high quality nutrition, for example, that stuff just builds up and builds up and builds up. And then your kidneys having troubles, your liver's having troubles, things like that. Build up in the colon and all of that stuff. I saw some video the other day about somebody that was helped with Crohn's. I don't know anything about Crohn's, and so again, but go look it up, CBD and Crohn's. I know quite a few people that have migraines, and it's helping people with migraines. It's helping people with anxiety and depression and sleep. And even if you were to get those things under control, you have more mental capability to deal with what's happening to you. And that's what happens. And when we start losing that mental capability, and we start inverting, and we stop kind of, there's people that are literally off job because the depression in and of itself is taking control of their life. And that's the one thing, I'm emotional, a person anyways, and I can get emotional on the videos. It's because I care more than anything. But today's obviously one of those days. But it's, if I told somebody that, if you're somebody who is in a depression, there's a good chance you're crying every day. And then there's a good chance you're crying 2 or 3 times a day. There's a chance where you can't even watch a heartwarming commercial and you'll get emotional from it because you're just low. Your vibration in your body. And I'm a light worker. I'm an energy healer. I'm an energy intuitive, so I work with people in that way also. And so, a lot of it is lifting that vibration. But when your hormones has been out of whack, when your serotonin isn't being produced, when your cortisol is all whacked up and you're not sleeping at night, because cortisol is produced properly, I think it's during the hours of 3 to 5 o'clock in the morning. And if you're not sleeping properly, or you're not in your proper REM sleeps, and that's also why people that have jobs where they work at night and stuff like that can be struggling with stuff. It's simply that their hormonal bodies are really, really out of whack. And again, CBD, very, very, very beneficial for that. So I'm a proponent of people trying these oils, whether you get the account through me or someone different. The reason is because I know that consistently, because this is manufactured in a good manufacturing facility, because this is organic hemp, because it's non-GMO, there's no gluten in it, in the oils or anything like that, so people that have gluten allergies can take the oils, is that this product, to meet that manufacturing standard, has to have in it what it says it is. And this company, in the back office, when you get your free account, you can go in there and you can look at the actual independent studies that show that the THC is under the required amount to be in the category, and the CBD oil is, if it says 750 milligrams in this 30 milliliter bottle, there has to be a minimum of 750 milligrams. So if they exceed that, that means they're meeting the minimum standard and then exceeding it. So thanks, and if you have any questions, shoot them off to me in a private message too, if you like. A lot of people, their journey is private. They don't necessarily want to talk openly on these videos and stuff. And I'd like to get so I'm actually talking to other people and not just me talking. I'm willing to do that right now, and because I still stay home a lot and stuff. But I want to start talking to people that are having other experiences, people that are having testimonials with the product. And I have been getting asked about the business, if I'm going to be pursuing the business. First of all, everybody, just by getting an account, gets a 30% discount from the company. So if you order the oils directly through your own account, there's a 30% wholesale discount. The prices of these products, because I've spent enough in the dispensaries, are very, very good and far competitive, especially when you know that you're getting a consistent quality of the oils. And that's really, when you look at, here's what they tell you. When you take a nutritional pill, for example, you take a pill and you pass it through your body and it goes through your bowels, they say that we can lose up to 80% of the nutritional value of that pill. Well, then you look at, to me, it's like, okay, so I'm paying this much for 20%. That's actually not good money well spent. And then you'd have to take 5 times of the recommended dosage to actually get the 100%. Do you understand what I'm saying when I explain it like that? And if not, let me know. That's why when you take the oil and you take the drops and they go right under your tongue, straight into your bloodstream, you're getting the full 750 milligram, for example, in that drop, in those drops. And there's 750 milligrams in this bottle, for example. This company has 300, 500, 750, and 1500. And 1500 are for people that are struggling with more pain problems and more issues. Whereas if you're in maintenance, just if you just need, to bring down anxiety, you probably only need the 300 to 500 milligram bottles. And they're priced very well, even by the time you pay the $1 and get them shipped to Canada and stuff like that. So, that's the biggest thing I can say is, like, I'm on day 21 and I know that I'm getting a consistent amount of oil in my body every day. I did switch from taking the high dose where I started to go to the 10, 12 drops at a time, 15 drops. I tried, I think, a couple days there, twice a day, so taking it more farther apart, and I found that my pain wasn't as subsided over the whole day. So I went back to my micro dosing because I wanted to try it for myself and for also to see, did I have a reaction or response if I took more. Like I said, you can't get high on these kinds of CBD oils, and if you want the high, you actually do have to add in THC because you won't get it here. So don't order it if you're expecting that, because you'll be disappointed. But at least you're getting the nutritional value that's in the bottle. If you take a pill, you pass it through, you're losing 50, 70, 80% of the efficacy because you're digesting it. And they proved, actually, I remember this statistic from a long time ago when I went into Melaleuca, was how they learned that we actually pass pills right through our bowels was they found them in wells, in tanks out in the country when people would have their septic tanks. And they would go and they'd actually find people that were on vitamins, and they would find the actual still in the full pill form was being passed through the body. And then, like, well, then what are you paying for, and what nutritional are you paying for? Hey, Jamie, how are you? And my beautiful cousin Jackie. think that's probably it for today, you know. But give it a chance, you know. If you're going to try something, I've been trying for 1.5 years before I found this company, and I haven't spoke about any of it until I found this company. And so, yeah, and the part about the business is, yeah, I'm very well, I think this entire industry is in its infancy in terms of being part of a company that's going to really go out into the world and make some changes for people, regardless of what it is. I feel like that's going to come more as I feel better. But everybody, like I said, get an account, get your own 30% discount. I obviously I appreciate it if you grab your account through me, because it's like your little CTF store, or CTF store is attached to my CTFO store. There's no monthly commitment. You're not required to order every month. You can order once a year. You can order a big order and order again 6 months later. There's no auto ships. You can create them. They allow them for people that want them. Auto ships are really good because what happens is people will run out, and then there'll be 2 weeks waiting, and in that 2 weeks, especially if you're in the first, you know, 6 months to a year of getting healthy again, you don't want that gap, you know. And somebody was telling a story the other day that they were feeling really good, and they went off the oils for 30 days, and were wondering, well, I'm not really, and then they realized, oh, I went off the oils, thinking, oh, I feel better, I don't need the oils anymore. Well, you know, we still have our stressors, we still have the chemicals, we still have the pollution, we still have the stress, we still have the insomnia, we still have the inflammation, and unless that gets really, really under control, what I can tell you, and I've noticed doctors are talking about this is on the videos that I watch, is once you get your system under control and in a better way where it's operating, you know, you're getting maximum value out of your products, and that your system is starting to really do better, you need less. That's something that's really cool about the oil. So if you're on a higher dose, to get well first, to get the inflammation down, to, you know, to negate that, especially if you're struggling with cancer, the chemotherapy, it's really good for nausea for people that are on chemotherapy drugs, stuff like that, is that you, over time, you get to take less of it. And that's always, to me, a bonus. That means over time, I will pay even less for this product because I will need less of it in time. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Thank you, thank you. So yeah, so again, not one size doesn't fit all. You know, give it a chance. Try different oils. I certainly recommend this company because I'm having a reaction and response from this oil, and in 15 months prior, I didn't have that response. So I feel pretty confident about recommending this company, and I'm just sharing my journey on it. So God bless everybody. Have a fabulous day. I hope the videos are helping. If you have questions, put them in the box. It is actually a little bit more exciting for me when I see the odd notes, although I can't pay too much attention because I lose my thoughts. Yeah, and I'm going to put up the channel. Thank you, Alan. And I started a YouTube channel, and I'm making playlists. So you wouldn't have heard this if you've come into the video in the last little bit. So I'll put the link into the channel, and then when you go to the YouTube channel, it'll say CBD oil and diabetes, CBD oil and Alzheimer's, CBD oil and depression. I'm just building it, so it's going to get more and more. But what I do, and I'm taking quite a lot of time to do this, is I'm trying to find videos that are valuable, that are information based, and that are medical based, versus just somebody doing a YouTube video that's telling you, you know, I mean, I watch YouTube videos where people are like smoking their THC and blowing it into the camera and telling you how fantastic they feel. I'm happy for those people, but they're not giving me the science to understand. And you know, as much as I don't like the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry, there's so many doctors and the medical community jumping on board, and there's been so much science and research about this product, and even though it's in its infancy, and it's going to change drastically now that they've allowed CBD oils to be categorized differently so that they can research it differently now that it's leaving the class 1 drug like the THC, and I think I have that information all correct. So anyways, I hope everybody has a great Sunday. Thank you, Alan, and definitely I'm really interested in the sugar diabetes, because there's a lot of people struggling with that, and diabetes there's a lot of side effects from diabetes for people, You know, you can lose your feet, you can lose limbs over diabetes, you know, you can go blind. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that it matters to get those types of things under control. And it's exciting. And when you become a customer, they also have a really good testimonial page on Facebook, and you can go in there and you can research right inside. And those are people that are taking this specific product, CTFO, and they're giving testimonials. And the product was launched in the 20th of January. So there's more and more and more of them coming online, testimonials all the time. But when you go into the testimonial thing, you actually can just put in, you know, diabetes, and then, because that's part of the commitment, that you have to say what your testimonial is about, because eventually there'll be thousands and thousands of them in there, and it would be too much for a person to have to go. So you can just go, you know, put in the chat box or in the search box, diabetes, migraines, Alzheimer's, depression, chronic pain, you know, inflammation, etc. And it'll take you to however many people. You know, you will see only those ones. And so it's very helpful, actually, and it's way more time effective for people wanting to learn about it all. So have a great day, everybody. I didn't do a video at all really last week, other than when I went to Regina that day. And so again, I hope this is helping, and have a blessed day. You know, have a great day with your friends and your family and your loved ones. And I'm feeling good enough to actually even get out a little bit these days. So I'm really looking forward to that improving for my own life. So God bless everybody.